Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. This is a short topic, a short review roundup that I'm going to be talking to you all about today. Unlike many of my review roundups, I'm not going to be going over overviews of the game because all the games I'm talking about today have been reviewed by other folks here in the Dice Tower. I just have got around to playing many of these and wanted to give my thoughts on them to give a different perspective or perhaps maybe the same one. So we're just going to jump into them. These are a bunch of different games that I finally got around to playing. So we're going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite. So here we go. First of all, we're going to take a look at Pondscape. Pondscape is a game about laying frogs into a pond. This is from Tom Vasel, who's best known for SETI, which I think is a fantastic game. It's one of my favorite games, actually. Pondscape, I'm a little less excited about. Now, the general idea of Pondscape is one I'm in favor of. You're making a pond with these frogs, and you can put the frogs in, or toads, whatever. You can put the frogs or toads in face up, or you can flip them over. I just feel like there's too much symbology on these cards. There's things that tells you what's on the other side of the card, then the other side tells you what's on that side, and there's a certain type of frog that scores better by itself, and then you need to go look up what every single one of those means. Either you're scoring the frogs in groups, and the problem is there's a lot of these games out there, like Castle Combo and other things, but in recent memory, Castle Combo would be the most close to this, and Castle Combo I can play and teach the people in a minute. Pondscape feels like an awful lot of work to get people to play it. There's so much involved, and if you're not a big fan of symbols in games, there's just so many in this game, and then the scoring isn't even that interesting as you're trying to make groups of frogs, but you start one and then you're waiting for another frog to show up, so you end up putting just some water in your pond, and there's all these different ways to score. And I don't necessarily dislike this type of game, but this one just didn't do it for me, mostly because I just felt that there was just too much going on, too much work for too little payoff. Next, we have Eternal Decks. Now, this one I'm sure you've heard of because this is one of Mike's favorite games, and Chris also really enjoyed it a lot. And in fact, I'm kind of the outlier in here that I don't love it, but this is definitely one where I would say it's me, not the game. So Eternal Decks, you can look at it. There's a swath of color. I'm not a huge fan of the cover of the box, but the color here in the game itself, I think, is tremendous. It looks really cool. And in this game, you are playing cards and trying to never be in a spot where you can't play a card to make everyone to lose. So you're playing cards in different rows, and if you finish a row or accomplish a goal, you'll get more cards in your hand. This is one where I've only played the very first scenario. I know that there's more scenarios. It goes crazy and wild, but just the base game, if you don't love that, I'm not necessarily going to go look for more in this game. I felt this is one of those games that has that fine line of what communication are we allowed to give with each other? How much can we talk about it? I'm going to play the wrong card at the wrong moment, and everyone's going to look at me and go, really? And while sometimes this really works for me, an example would be the crew, but I think the crew, trick-taking is the main aspect of the crew, and I love that main aspect of it. And I know the trick-taking, and I know how it works. And this one, it's more of a card placement, and then these cards come out, and they're constantly saying, oh, now you can't do this, and now this can't be done. And it has that feel of a hard cooperative game that you all need to work together to do a puzzle. And for me, it kind of misses the mark. That's all. I think it's fine. I mean, I'd play it. I don't dislike it, but it's not one that I would call to pull off the shelf. And so I can see why others like it. For me, it's merely fine. And on that same note, then we have Take Time, which is pretty much the same style game, a very popular game from last year. Take Time, and this is a game in which you are going to be playing cards around this. Here's the back of the box. You can see around this middle thing, and the cards have to be played usually in an ascending order. There's a whole bunch of missions in the box, tons and tons of missions. And so you're allowed to talk before the game, but then you're slowly placing out cards, and then you reveal at the end to see if you accomplished the goals. Whether the cards have to be ascending from smallest to largest, you didn't have too many cards in one spot. Some other rules of the game that each time you play, they'll say this spot can only have 2 cards. This card must have 2 cards. There's white and black cards, which will have something to do with different things. Again, I have the same feeling on Eternal Decks. In fact, I think if you like one of these, you might like the other because I think they're very similar, while Take Time is a much lighter game and a very easy game to get into and play. And if I had to pick one, I'd play Take Time because I think it's very simple. The game also has it when you mess up, here, click a gear, we'll play through again. While Eternal Decks is a longer game, if you mess up, you're like, well, we lost. While Take Time, I could be like, we lost, let's try it again. Again, I see the popularity of both of these games. They're just not necessarily my style of games. Then we have A Place for All My Books. So this game, which is the official game of Barnes & Nobles, no kidding, it's about books. But that being said, I'm not particularly surprised with the popularity of this game. A Place for All My Books is you have your own book collection and you're putting around, moving books back and forth until you have enough energy to get out of the house and go buy some books. I call it an introvert simulator because that's what it is. You're increasing your social battery. You think you have enough social battery to go to town to buy some books, and you bring them back. The base part of the game is kind of a weird one where you're building up these energy points and you can go to town. You actually can't go to town that many times over the course of this game. It's kind of a back and forth thing. And there are two actions, one in which you take all the books in a pile and you kind of explode them in other spots, and then one where you suck things in. And I feel like they're not named as well as they could be. I found that was a little confusing. I also found some of the actions seemed odd. Like you go to the library to get books. Do you not return them? It feels like you're like, just take some books home from the library. I'll never return them because it's embarrassing to see the librarian. It's a cute game. And it's a game that a lot of people like about moving books off shelves and stuff. And I enjoyed it for what it was. I think a lot of people are going to like it because of the theme, because of stacking the books and moving them around. There's lots of ways to get points. If you like Smirk and Dagger's games, they're all in there somewhere. And you can get board games too in this, which is a little odd because they're real games put in a game that's make-believe with pictures. But the art's good. I think it's one a lot of people like. I like it fine. I wouldn't want to play it all the time. And I think the game for me is a little shorter than I would like, actually, which is just a smidge. But I think there's a lot of interesting things going on. So that's A Place for All My Books. Finally, I've played Ahoy. Ahoy is a game in which the one or more players, 1 or 2 players, 4 is the max, will be smugglers, and then 1 or 2 are controlling navies. And they're both playing very different games. The 2 navies, in the picture you can see here, blue and yellow, are playing a big area control against each other, while the smugglers are doing a pick up and deliver, going around picking up cards and delivering them back and forth. And they're increasing the values for the area control. Everybody can fight everybody. And it's a dice placement game. So there's some really interesting things here. It's asymmetrical, although 2 of the players play pretty much identical. So it almost feels like a My First Route game, which is another game from Leader Games. I love the theming of the game. I like the artwork that's done in this. And I like that it's not big and grandiose. Unlike most games that have asymmetrical factions to them, this is one in which I think I can easily teach to a group of people. While if you asked me to teach Root, I'd be like, okay, here we go. There's a lot to be taught to get to in that game. But Ahoy has a very fun theme. I think it's a very interesting theme. It has a lot going on. I think there's a smidge more luck than I might like sometimes, especially for the pirates. You need to have things that you can deliver right away. The pirates, the smugglers. And if you don't like one of the style games, you might not like, let's say you don't like pick up and deliver. Well, then you're going to have to be one of the other factions because that's what the one side does. But it's still kind of a rollicking game, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. It says here on Board Game Geek, it's 45 to 75 minutes. I think an hour is a pretty good length for this game, and I think there's a lot more to it in that box. Over the course of this year, I'm going to try to play the new expansions for it to see what they add to it. But I'm pretty pleased with how it starts off here, Ahoy. Galactic Cruise, well, the people's choice on the Dice Tower from 2025. And I thought I would give this one a whirl. So it looks, when you see it all set on the table, it definitely looks like an Eagle Griffin game. There's just tons of colorful pieces. There seems to be lots and lots of stuff going on. But it's not that complex comparatively. Now, don't get me wrong. It is a long game. I think I would prefer to play it at 2 or 3 players because of that. But the idea of it being a cruise, I mean, this could have probably been done as just a normal cruise, right? But a Galactic Cruise is fun because as I'm putting modules on my cruise ships as they go out, they're worth points and things, but they're really fun. I also really like the card play aspect of this game. The cards themselves are really fascinating and fun and interesting, and they allow you to kind of do an action, but do it better, which is something I really like a lot. You see this similar thing in SETI and Terraforming Mars and things like that. Galactic Cruise's biggest disadvantage is the length of the game, but that's really the only negative thing I would say about it. I think it's a lot of fun. The actions where you pick an action, but if you have cogs, you can pick an adjacent action. The fact that the actions can change from game to game, which ones are paired up. There's so much goodness in it, but it all follows very straightforward things. I get these people, I put them on my ship, I take them off to see neat planets. I need to build the ship, and it just feels like you're always doing fun, interesting things. I don't know if I'll mess with the expansion. Chris says the expansions are very good, but I think the base game itself was pretty solid. So while I don't know that this would be one of my favorite games from 2025, it definitely is in the running for the list. It definitely is a game that I think quite highly of and would like to play again. And then finally today, we're going to talk about Tiwanaku. This is from 2022, but this is a game that Mike has been talking about for a while on his top 100 list, so I finally got it to the table. And this is, what is it here? You are leading pre-Columbian tribes under the Andes, blah, blah, blah. This is a straight-up logic game. In this game, you are trying to figure out where things are. And a lot of people call this a Sudoku-esque game, and that's a very reasonable thing to call it because you're going to have a bunch of, as you can see here, different territories next to each other. The territories are 1 to 5 spaces, and each of those has a field in it, and if it has 5, it has 1 through 5 in it, but if it's a 3-size territory, then it only has discs 1, 2, and 3 in it. Those territories only are never adjacent to themselves, even diagonally. The discs are never adjacent to themselves, even diagonally, the same type. And so you're moving around discovering colors, and as you discover them, there's a nice point scoring to the game. You want to discover the colors kind of equally, but you also want to say, this is what's here. You can use straight deduction. You can try to guess, but you'll be penalized if you're wrong. And it's just such an interesting back and forth that there comes a point you're going, I know that in this spot is a 3-disc. Or I know it's a 2 or a 3. Okay, but wait, over here. And it's just a juicy puzzling in your head. I'm like, okay, in this spot, it can only be a 1 and a 2. But it's in the same field as this, and there already is a 1, so therefore it must be 2. Hence the Sudoku-esque nature of it. You don't really have any written down parts of it, but man, do I love this game. Wow, I found it to be a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite games, new games I've played in a while. And I, of course, very much adore deduction games, so you have to keep that in mind. There is a cooperative mode to this, which I haven't tried. I don't know if I want to. I really like the competitive nature of it, and I might just be happy doing that. But this is a neat game, and I'm glad I gave it a whirl. So there you go, folks. A bunch of different games, and like I said, just my opinions on each of them. Didn't love Pondscape at all. Eternal Decks and Take Time, not a big fan of, but I get why people would like them. A Place for All My Books is amusing, although I can see some people just loving it, especially if you love the theme. Ahoy was a nice surprise for me, a lesser but fun route. Galactic Cruise, an amazing, big, giant, chunky Euro-style game about building cruises, but I found it to be quite fun. And Tiwanaku, just an absolutely fantastic deduction game, and frankly, it would be in my top 10 deduction board games because I think it is that enjoyable. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel. I want to do a quick shout-out to some of our GameFound backers. Thank you to Jeremy Mata, to Steve Isaacson, to Kelly Glade Kleinman, to Douglas Cunningham, Vera Lee and Doug, and I'm sorry, I should have said Glade Polar Bear Kleinman, and to Winston Hammonds. Thank you all for supporting the GameFound. Thank you all for watching this. We do appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this is the Dice Tower. Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Thanks for watching this video. Check out our channel. We have a lot of videos on our channel. We have live videos that go up each week, from live Q&As to videos where we take a look at the newest stuff on Kickstarter, crowd surfing, to top 10 lists and more. There's lots of stuff on this channel. We encourage you to explore it. You can find out more at our website, dicetower.com. I'm Tom Vasel. Thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower.